So let's just take a couple of steps back back in December when it all started again, and it would appear that the government was willing to listen, and I know that there were a couple of meetings. Just briefly, just tell us what happened during those meetings and why ASUU decided to continue the strike.
Well, yeah, all along, government has been inviting our union to a couple of meetings, and in the tradition of our union, we would always honor any invitation to such meetings. Unfortunately, at all of those meetings, government representatives would only come and talk. And as a union of intellectuals, we don't rely on verbal conversation. And that was why, when at the last meeting, government came with a proposal. We have called some meetings of our members, and we have looked at that proposal, and we have communicated our reaction to government.
When you say proposal, different from, because there have been several meetings, and I remember you were here sometime last year, and it was the same issue. Are you saying that it was a brand new proposal that the government, I mean, obviously it's negotiations. Was it a new proposal?
We had an agreement, but it's obvious that government is unwilling to implement that agreement. Okay. Now that we're on strike, government is now proposing to say that on the revitalization fund, we will release 20 billion out of 1.1 trillion.
Okay.
To say that we will pay you X amount as arrears of your end academic allowances. To say that if you meet all the requirements, we would issue you your NUPEMCO license. To say that we are now willing to provide a platform for you to interface with state governors, which are our core demands before we embarked on this strike. So on each of the items, government for the first time is saying that this is what we can do. So our union had considered all of those and now reported back to government.
Okay, so where do things stand right now? You say what we're hearing is now is that you're willing to accept 1 out of the 5 tranches of the revitalization fund?
Yes, you see, it's important to point out that the revitalization fund is not just an arbitrary figure. It was an amount arrived at between our union and representatives of government as the quantum of money needed, to revitalize, decaying infrastructures in the university. Now, we needed to go on a strike in 2013 to ensure that the then government of President Goodluck Jonathan, released the money. So at that time, he released 220 billion. 1 tranche out of the 5 tranches.
Okay.
Now, between 2013 and today, no dime had been released by government. So now that we're on strike, we're saying, look, even though you ought to have released 4 tranches, which you didn't release, now for us to call off this strike, just release 1 out of 4.
And what is the government, has the government responded to that?
Well, we are awaiting government response. The proposal they gave was that they were going to give 20 billion, 10 billion at the end of second quarter, and 10 billion at the end of the third quarter of this year. And that's unacceptable to our union.
Since this administration took over, how much has been released?
Well, there was the promise to release 20 billion last year. Up till now, that money had not been released. But at the last meeting, we were told that a committee had been set up to, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance was to ensure that the money is released and that a committee will be set up to monitor its disbursement, the 20 billion. So if government wants this strike called off, he needs to release another 200 billion.
Is there a date for next meeting?
Yeah, well, government will invite us to the next meeting after studying, our own proposal to government.
Is it possible that perhaps, because I'm just thinking, since 2013 up till now, 6 years, how much has been released? And in the last 3 years, when this government took over, not much has been released. I'm thinking maybe, how about smaller amounts released?
No, I think we have passed that stage. The quantum of money that is needed cannot be done in piecemeal.
But do you know that, does it appear that you're facing the possibility that nothing is possible, that nothing will be released, and that this will continue to drag on? It's been 6 years.
No, yes, and that's why we cannot go back to piecemeal. If in 6 years, nothing had been released, and now that we're on strike, we will now agree to another piecemeal arrangement. It means even our union is not serious. So we're saying that if you have been in default in 6 years, now that we're where we are, show commitment and release one. After that, tell us how you can then release, the balance. But to stay here and say you can only release 20 billion will be unacceptable to our union.
Is the government saying to you, we don't have the money, we're trying to squeeze out money?
The Nigerian government cannot persuade me that they don't have money. They find money to do whatever they want to do. Only last month, Skybank was billed out 800 billion, extra budgetary. And that's one bank. Maybe it's even the vocabulary that we are using that is confusing. Maybe we can tell government to also bail out public universities. Maybe they will understand it in that direction. 800 billion, will solve the problem of Nigerian universities, given to only one bank.
How far is the union willing to go? This time, are you prepared to stand your ground this time and take it as long as you? Because remember, who's suffering here at the end of the day.
Nobody to consider it as suffering will not be fair on us. Because as teachers too, we cut, the relationship between, our profession and our students. And all we are trying to do is to create a better learning environment for these students. Look, I finished from the University of Lagos. And when I was there, the same classroom that accommodated only 35, 40 students at that time is still the same classroom where 120 and more are to be accommodated. And we are saying that, look, on an incremental basis, expand infrastructures in these universities.
Dele, I'm afraid we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for talking.